I've never listened to this on headphones before. I've never heard that.
Lyrics are nothing special for me. I don't listen to the song for the lyrics.
I never noticed there's a second guitar.
Clap.
On the, yeah.
That's clap. Yeah.
It's a clap?
Yeah.
Welcome back to Musicians React. Today, we're doing 70s soul music.
Musicians React.
Woo! This is the time, this is the genre, these are the composers, these are the compositions, these are the masters. Mm-hmm. This is a good day today.
I'm happy. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here.
I sometimes feel things.
Okay, here we go. This is Superstition by Stevie Wonder.
This is a song I was just saying to Lauren that feels just like The Sidewalk because you hear it, you've heard it a million times. Do you know what I mean? But it's so rare to actually like sit down and intentionally listen to it and take it apart. So I'm really excited to do this.
Here we go. This is Superstition by Stevie Wonder.
Very superstitious. Writings on the wall. Very superstitious. Letters about to fall. 13-month-old baby broke the looking glass. 7 years of bad luck. Look at things in your past. When you believe in things that you don't understand, and you suffer. Superstition ain't the way. Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's so many things I've never noticed before.
Yeah. 2 clavs. It's at one point I could have sworn there was a third
I think
clav.
there's more. I've seen someone I knew in music school had the multi-track for this
Really?
somehow, and there were like 8 clav tracks.
That's
like
what
an
it sounds like, and they're
insane
just
amount.
kind of coming and going.
Yeah. And they're all different. Like they all interlock. None of them are doing the same thing.
There are so many singable, iconic riffs
Yeah.
in this song.
But also the main riff is kind of elusive because the second
It's always different.
The second half of it, there's no clear.
Yeah, so I keep wanting to like learn the part. That's what it sounds like in my head.
But there's also like, I never noticed there's a second guitar.
Clap.
On the, yeah.
That's clap. Yeah.
It's a clap?
Yeah.
Ooh, very superstitious.
So that main instrument that we're hearing in Superstition is a clav, I think. And I think it would be a D6, a Hohner D6, which is like the most famous clav sound that everybody thinks about when people are talking about, oh, we need a clavinet for this tune. They're usually talking about a D6. If you go to a lot of studios, you're going to see a lot of Hohner D6s in the studios. They're like coveted instruments now, and they have that kind of plucky, almost electric guitar-like sound. It's a little bit like a harpsichord, but laid out like a keyboard, and sounds like a plucky guitar. That's a clav, and the most famous of all clavs is the Hohner D6.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
what you were talking about.
I thought it was a guitar too. It feels like a plucked guitar,
Yeah.
a dry plucked guitar, but yeah, that's that.
And it's just kind of like jumping in on the off, like
yeah.
it's like the main riff is over here, and I'm like, oh, you're not in the middle.
Right.
And then there's it's just like kind of jumping in on offbeats that feels almost random, and like the hi-hat is doing that too over here.
Things that you don't understand, and you
And it's just like there's this whole like
The
area.
gate on the hi-hat is
Yeah.
insane. I've never listened to this on headphones before. I've never heard that. Okay, so in recordings, a lot of times people will use a gate to lower the volume or to mute things that they don't want to hear. So for instance, in this track, if the recording engineer decided that the hi-hat was too loud and they only wanted to hear it at certain times, let's say this is the waveform of a hi-hat. This looks nothing like a waveform. you could set the threshold of your gate to here so that for all of these notes, the hi-hat will be a lot quieter in volume, and every time the hi-hat is played loudly, it'll come through and you'll hear it. That's a gate. They were clearly like, man, this hi-hat mic is so fucking loud. Can you put a gate on that thing?
I love it when you hear that in old recordings.
Yeah.
And you can hear them cleaning things up or just like doubling a snare because the first one wasn't loud enough or something.
So can you clarify the sound of the hi-hat being gated?
It's like a gate with like a really slow release.
Yeah.
It like goes out and then it slowly fades back in and then comes out and slowly fades back in.
But you almost never hear that obvious, that apparent of a gate where you just hear it close and then it'll play loud and it comes back.
When you believe in things you don't understand, then you stop.
Why do you think the engineer did that? Or the mixing engineer did that? Why did they gate? Because the hi-hat doesn't sound bad.
Well, when he's playing fills, the hi-hat is way louder than everything else. Like in the middle of a fill, it jumps out and then you hear the toms quietly.
I mean, there are moments where the hi-hat comes in and it's just kind of like, feels like it came out of nowhere, but it like fits perfect. So like, I mean, bringing it down, of course, accentuates that moment.
And it makes room for the horns and his vocal, and the clav is a lot of stuff going on in that frequency range.
I still can't believe that's not guitars. The funny thing is, like, I think if you had asked me, like Ryan said, this song is like The Sidewalk. It's like, oh, I know that song. It's like, I don't. Because like, if you had asked me, like, what's that main riff? I would have actually thought it was bass, just from memory.
Yeah.
Like
I think
slap
there's a
bass or
Stevie
something.
Wonder. Not a Stevie. Obviously, this is a Stevie Wonder version. There's a Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh,
version
yeah,
of this
yeah.
tune where he plays the main riff on like
On
guitar.
Yeah.
So a lot of people play it like
Yeah.
cover it.
Yeah.
That
It
way.
feels like
the
a
same
guitar
feel.
line.
Yeah.
It could absolutely be a guitar.
Right.
But
Yeah,
but
sounds
wait a
like-
minute. Just from a melodic standpoint, here's some of the iconic melodies in this song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hook central.
And ba, 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 da, ba. That's post-chorus riff.
All the horn lines on
I
this
know.
are so good.
That is like fucking iconic horn line.
Oh, yeah.
All of those things are from this song.
Yeah. And that line is so cool too because it's doubled by the bass. So it makes it a riff, but the piano, I can't remember, does he play it on clav or does he play through it? He
Wait,
kinda,
are the horns doubling the bass for that part?
yeah. The bass goes at that part. There's so many clav parts, I don't know everything that he's doing, but the main one doesn't double it. So it's just the bass and the horns.
It's the
doing
bass
it
and the
together.
horns doing the same thing.
Yeah, but it makes it feel like a riff and like a counter line at the same time, which is what's so cool about it.
Okay, can we talk about the chorus, which isn't really a chorus, for a second?
Like the B section.
The B section.
When you believe in things that you don't understand, then you suffer.
So it's like B flat 7, then B7, kind of with the sharp 11 in it.
Yeah.
And then back to B flat 7, then A7 with a sharp 11 in it, and then A flat 7, and
Yeah.
then back up to B flat. With it sounds like a sharp 9 in it.
Fucking beautiful. Lauren, I want to hear your take on the lyrics.
The lyrics, in a way, they remind me of like a country song where it's just like picked a concept and like wrote a bunch of lines that rhyme about that concept.
Yeah, they're like functional but good.
Right. It's just
Yeah.
like, okay, you did a good job of the thing that you decided to do. And then I hadn't really thought about the fact that the B section like doesn't rhyme or anything. Then he just says the thing he's talking about. But it works really well because there's like the lyrics are not what's supposed to be interesting at that moment. There's like such a complex musical thing happening underneath that
There's so much complexity and so many interesting things that are going on. I don't get a lot from the lyrics. I don't get as much as I get from the production and the panning and the interesting horn melodies and the sync of the bass line and the horns. All that stuff is like really, it steals my focus.
Which is why they do it exactly what they're supposed to do. They don't distract. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah,
It's like
I agree.
They
Yes.
say what he's
Yeah.
trying to say without
Yeah.
distracting from the fact that the song is a party.
Yeah.
And if he was saying stuff that like pulled you into like, oh my God, I never thought about it that way, then you'd stop dancing.
Right.
It's like doing just enough with the lyrics to complete the puzzle.
What about vocal performance? Because in terms of performances, I mean, it's hard to oversell the virtuosity
Yeah.
of
It's hard
his
to even
vocals.
know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like one of the most important voices of the 20th century. So it's hard to like,
Why?
I mean, it's easy to forget now, but there was no tuning vocals or anything at the time. Like what came out of your face is what showed up on the tape. You know what I mean? Like his intonation is incredible. Like his phrasing is just as funky as his piano playing.
How he's playing with placement and like, you know, the way that he's saying different vowels and playing with the timbre within his like, plus there's just the X factor of like, if you only listen to the drums, you can hear his whole soul, like literally you can hear his heart in his playing. There's just this extra like, that you hear just like jumping out of what he's playing. You hear his intention and like you hear that in his vocal too. That's just what makes him so special.
Very superstitious. Writings on the wall.
Da 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 da.
The other thing that's so cool about this, and like some of my favorite musicians ever are people that play everything, but not any one of those takes is perfect. Like if you listen to McCartney on songs where he plays everything, or Prince on songs where he plays everything. I was listening to, I was at Ben Folds, name drop, Ben Folds Studio, and he pulled up a song on the sliders where he was playing everything, because he does this all the time. And he pulled, like I was trying to hear just a bass track of what he was, because I was playing bass. And so he pulled up the bass track and it was so sloppy. And then he pulled up just the drums and they were so sloppy.
But they're sloppy in the same way.
But
it's like you have your own grid.
Yes, you layer yourself over and over again, and that's the cool thing about hearing moments in that where like the drums, he gets excited, like the drums speed up. But when you put, like, I think maybe that's part of the reason why we hear it coming out of one speaker. You just hear all that, the clav, and it sounds like one clav, because he's layering himself, 4 or 5 times on all these different instruments, and they just fit together. It blurs all the edges, and it's just maximum fun.
It's like the first version of Pat Metheny's Orchestrion.
Were people even playing like metronomes? What was the like?
no
No
click.
No,
clicks.
okay,
I mean,
right.
well, some. It was, but it
Sometimes
was
they
really
would
rare though.
Yeah, they
Okay,
like record
yeah.
a click on a track.
Like
Yeah.
creating your own grid is kind of inevitable if you're doing that and there's no option of a grid. Whereas like now it's like, I'm imagining, I'm like, oh, I don't think that would happen with my productions, because I'm just like, I'm using the actual grid as such a
Yes.
strong reference point. And I
Yeah.
think that's probably true for a lot of people.
Yeah, the
doing
number
digital
of
things
time,
now.
that is such a good point. The
Great
number
point.
of time that I have literally zoomed in and used my eyes instead of my ears to adjust the time on something. Be like, I'll look at the kick drum and I'll be like, oh, my kick drum is 30 milliseconds before the
Yeah.
grid. I'm going to shift it over. I'm fucking using my eyes instead of my ears
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
determine the sync of the music.
I actively try to avoid doing
Yes.
that. Yeah.
I have to, it takes a lot of restraint. It's really hard for me not to do that.
That's one thing, and the further version of that is just like, there's the one thing about feeling subdivisions and how you put yourself on a grid, but just the complete absence of a grid, like the way that Led Zeppelin, the way that those 3 guys feel time, experience time
Is
together,
most of the sound.
is what makes them sound
Yes.
like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
the same,
totally.
And when you just introduce the concept of, okay, this is where time is, you're removing, like, that's one thing that makes Scary Pockets so fun to me, is that each of those bands feels time slightly different, and you really notice the difference between how it feels when you play to a grid, regardless of how you feel time on that grid.
I remember, well, this wasn't with Pockets, this was with Pomplamoose, but it was Jamiroquai Bee Gees. We did a mashup of Jamiroquai Bee Gees, and Rob was on drums, Rob Humphreys. I think Rob's time is so fucking unique and very cool.
Somebody help me. Somebody help me, yeah. Futures made
I remember remember Ben Rose played the same exact groove, and it sounded like a different song and a different drum part. Not better or worse, but it literally sounded like a different song. There's so much in how not just how the drummer feels time that is completely separate from the grid and often better if there's no grid, but how the band feels time together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nowadays people think like if you speed up or if you slow down, that's bad.
If it's inconsistent in a short amount of time, then it feels uneasy. But if it's like, I mean, every Motown record speeds up like 25 clicks. You know? And it's like the dopest shit ever.
Right?
Yeah.
And if everyone's kind of moving together and it's just like it's so much more human. You know,
But I
in
still
the same
record a lot to
progression.
click. Do you record to click, Lauren?
I always record to click. Yeah. And it's like sometimes I'll get down the fucking rabbit hole of like tempo mapping because I want that. I want that push and pull of tempo. But then like by the time you've like zoomed in times 100 and spent 45 minutes trying to make the exact right arc on the tempo, you're just like, this doesn't feel like anything
Yeah,
anymore.
I'm not the biggest fan of tempo maps unless there's like a really great reason to do it.
Tempo mapping is when you're working on a grid in Pro Tools, Ableton, whatever software you use, and you want to have a tempo change in the song. So you're going to be automating the tempo. You're often drawing it in, and that would be if you want to have some push-pull or if you're trying to match a track that you already recorded that you want to work with on a grid and you're trying to follow the tempo of that. Don't do it. It sucks.
Because like if you want that vibe, you should just call there's a part of me that's like, people did it in the 70s and 60s and 70s. Like if you call the right cats who won't feel time the way you want, then you won't have to do the editing. But the music is made differently now. So if you want to bring samples into it and there's no grid, it's the worst
That's the
possible
thing,
death.
yeah.
Now we have Google Maps, which works a lot better.
Yeah.
Stopped using tempo maps years ago.
We're going to wrap it up there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Musicians React. We're coming out with weekly videos, so if you like this, subscribe and you'll see more. Let us know what we should talk about next in the comments below. If there's a song that you like, or if there's music or an artist or whatever it is, and you'd like us to talk about it or pick it apart or analyze it, let us know in the comments below, and we will see you next week. Adios.